I'm Dana Foster, and you are watching The Community Connection. And I'm excited to have Mr. Fred Reid into the studio today to discuss his new book, Captured by Fire. And it's all about you staying home to protect your homestead in the 2017 wildfires. So, can you tell us what inspired you to write this book?
Well, initially we tried to ignore the fire and we didn't want to alarm family, but then when we started posting on Facebook, everybody was expressing how good the posts were and how interested they were in what we were doing to fight the fire. So from those Facebook posts, we developed my half of the story. This book is written with Chris Tchaikovsky, who's written many books about living in the wilderness. And she actually approached me initially with the post because she was following the posts as well. And many people said I should write a book. So,
what made you decide to stay and avoid evacuation orders?
I think in a lot of it was probably naivety. We didn't know about wildfires and how destructive and fast they could move. And I moved up into this very isolated valley we're in. It's extremely isolated because I was just tired of the society out there. And I had no desire to go out. So it was more a reaction. I didn't want to go and leave my place. I never even thought about the protection. I actually thought a lot of buildings would be lost at the start. Yeah.
What makes somebody decide to go off grid? And you hear about a lot more people wanting to do that. What was it for you?
Oh,
Good question.
Yeah, it's a big question. I suppose I'd been warned by people that I couldn't afford to go through another burnout, another black period. I was an organic farmer in the Fraser Valley, selling at the farmers markets in Vancouver. Extremely stressful, extremely hard to earn a living off of 10 acres. And I burnt out severely a couple of times, and I just had enough.
Were you glad that you made the decision?
Oh yeah, I love the
You do?
Yeah.
How do you, it's because we live in such a society of technology. I mean, it's in our, how do you, I love the idea. I honestly do. I love the idea, and I spent a lot more time living out here just recently, being able to go out and adventure more. And you think about it, but it's got to be different from dreaming about it to actually living it.
Well, I grew up in Saskatchewan when it was real rural. My first 3 years of school were in a one-room school, 8 grades, 1 teacher. So I have a background in living out there, so to speak. I don't. So it wasn't hard for me, and I've always sort of feared flush toilets, to tell you the
Really?
truth. They should
Why?
Well, they're so noisy and you never know where everything goes.
That's true.
So
That's true. Thinking about
so that in a lot of ways that is a symbol of what my discomfort with the world, the urban world, let's say.
Most people can't do that though. If somebody really could go off grid, what sort of advice would you give them? Because I don't think everybody really realizes how much work it is and how hard it is to live like that. I think even mentally, right?
Well, the big difficulty is, I'm basically retired.
Right.
Okay, so, and I have a wonderful partner, and that's important too, I think, but there's a lot of guys especially that live out in isolation. I know my doctor when I lived in Abbotsford, and she said to me, do you think you can live out there all by yourself? Because I was going to be all by myself.
Yeah.
And I said I think I could, and she agreed, but it is very difficult.
Yeah. Yes. What do you hope that people get from reading this book?
The main thing in this book, it describes the emotions of living right with a fire. And our neighbors who evacuated, well, he had a knee injury and had to leave because he was under rehabilitation. And they were in Vancouver, so from a distance, the anguish that they had about being away from the fire and is their place protected, it comes through clear in this book. And then Monica and my partner Monica and my embracing the fire, in a sense, embracing the people fighting the fire and getting to understand the fire. I felt less anxiety, I think, being with the fire and seeing how it operated, knowing how it would operate, than Pat and Lee, our neighbors who were away. They had to suffer that long distance agony and what's going to happen to their place. And then Chris, the fire coming within 2 kilometers of her place and all the smoke and the threat of it taking her place. It was more fearful for us when the fire was still 3.5 kilometers away and we couldn't see it. So once we saw the flames, then the fear peaked. But it quickly went down because then, the fire does this. In the afternoon, it's scary. In the morning, it's really quiet, not doing much and things like that. So it was actually nice being close to the fire in a sense, rather than being further away.
Would you do it again?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What would you do differently this time?
Probably not a heck of a lot different. We were lucky because we had done 2 cuts of hay, or we did 2 cuts of hay, and we had finished the first one, and we're irrigating our meadows. So the meadows around the house were very green, and the firefighters that came in, they all said we should leave. That's their mandate. They have to say that. But some would say secretly, I'd probably stay too, and you're probably safe with those green meadows around the house. And in the end, I think that's what saved us more than anything else.
What can people do today to protect themselves going into?
The biggest thing is making sure that you have pressure pumps and sprinklers to protect your house and your buildings. We heard stories of houses completely surrounded by forest with one sprinkler on the roof, and when the fire came through, the house still stood and all the trees were burned. So sprinklers over top your house are very very important.
Okay. And where can people go to purchase your book?
Any bookstore, they better have it.
Yeah. Okay.
Important. I think it's a very good book discussing those relationships with the fire.
All right. Well, thank you so much. You have been watching The Community Connection, and we've been joined with Fred Reid to talk about his new book, Captured by the Fire. And we're lucky because we get to give this book away. So we'll have the details about how you can win this book soon. Thanks so much for watching.